Hello, lighting people. Today we're joined by Brian Stern, co-founder and CEO of Puro Lighting, a leader in UVC disinfection products. Brian, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Brian, when you and Webb Lawrence formed this company a couple of years ago, we're putting together your business plan. What part did a future short-term pandemic have in your business plan, and what have the last few months been like for you folks?
Well, naturally, it's always easy to plan for a giant worldwide pandemic, the first year or second year into your business. But no, that was not part of our business plan when we first started. We were trying to develop products, lighting products that could be used to produce health and wellness within spaces. And that was the original concept for Puro Lighting. Our first products to market were UVC disinfection products. And there's a tremendous amount of need for those products in the market before the pandemic. There will be need for those products in the market after the pandemic. The pandemic has definitely helped to heighten awareness for the need for disinfection products within commercial and industrial spaces.
That's great. And one of the things that's heightened awareness is the pilot program that you folks are a part of with the MTA, the Metropolitan Transit Authority in New York City. It's in charge of all the subways and buses there. Your pilot program on subways started in May. How is that program going?
So the program has been going great. We've delivered fully on the initial pilot for the New York City MTA, and our products have been used by them, or have been getting used by them for the last 2 or 3 months now. And really, our product was never designed for transit applications originally. So there's been a lot of operational adjustments that have had to be made to use our products correctly within subways, buses, rail cars, subway stations, transit authorities, things like that. And that's what we've learned the most from the pilot so far is how to actually use our products effectively within those spaces. We've made customizations to allow for different mounting applications. For instance, now on the subways, our units are being mounted to the actual stanchion bars within the subways, and we developed a special mount to allow our units to be used in that fashion. And we've been kind of quickly improving on the products as well as the mounting and deployment and the methods for deployment so that they can be used more effectively within those spaces. On top of New York City now, we're working with 12 other transit authorities throughout the US, and we're expecting that will continue to expand. There's a tremendous amount of need in that category.
A big market indeed, and that's great that you folks are a part of that. Many of the products being used in those applications are your mobile units, but you also make permanently installed units as well. Where do you see the bigger market, medium to long term, with UVC disinfection?
We think that the larger market will be in the installed space in the long term. During the pandemic, people are trying to get their hands on any type of product that they can to allow for disinfection. And right now our units are being used primarily in a mobile setting for disinfection of transit vehicles. But when you start to think about it, there's a lot of manpower that's required to actually deploy our units correctly within a subway or a bus or any other facility. And we believe that when you install them, when they can be integrated into the ceiling of a subway car or a bus, or installed in the ceiling of an office building or a subway station, or really any application, that's the more effective use. Then you can provide automation. All of our units have onboard scheduling, as well as different modes to initiate them when a space is vacant. And that takes a lot of the manpower out of it. You don't need someone to be trained effectively to use it when it's already positioned correctly within that space and it's going to run on its own.
And on that manpower point that you just made, right, there's people in hotel rooms or people that work for transportation authorities that have to move those portable units from room to room or subway car to subway car. Long term, do you see that as a sustainable practice where these entities will invest in this type of disinfection equipment and continue to use it on a regular basis?
Yeah, and I think we're going to shift from mobilely deployed units to more permanently installed units over the next 5 to 10 years. And if you look at the healthcare space, for instance, healthcare has been using mobile UVC deployable units. These are like rolling units for 10 or 15 years already, and they've been used very effectively. There's a lot of training that's required with that, as well as just you have to physically move one from one space to another. And you think about a hotel application, that's a lot of hotel rooms, or a hospital application, that's a lot of hospital rooms to be doing that in. So we do believe that integrating UV systems into those spaces permanently makes the most sense. And then being able to trigger them either through a building automation system, through a wireless control system, or through our own platform for the units is the best way to use them. It takes the manpower out of it. And so we think over the next 2 to 3 years, our Hilo series, our installed series, are going to be our best sellers, even though our Sentry series, which is our mobily deployed units, have been our best sellers during the pandemic.
Makes sense. Let's talk about safety for a moment. And if I may make a metaphor, from a young age, everyone or almost everyone's taught that water and electricity don't mix. And that's pretty much an all-encompassing universal rule that we all adhere to. And, with few exceptions, people know to keep the hairdryer away from the bathtub. And making that transition now to UVC, it's much more nuanced with UVC, the dangers that are involved with that, dangers to the skin, danger to the eyes. And the average person who went to the tanning salon during prom week or may have slapped some banana boat SPF 30 on to protect themselves from UVC rays in the past, they might not understand all the different degrees of UVC rays or of UV rays, I should say, and how dangerous they are once they get to a certain part of that spectrum. How do we as an industry, or how do you as a company make sure that the end user, the person who's not an expert on UVC and its dangers, understands the dangers and operates these products properly?
Definitely. So that's one of, I think, the most important questions is how do you use UVC properly within a space and safely within a space? Because UVC is meant to help people. It's meant to decrease, viral load, bacterial load, or pathogen load within a space to decrease the chance of transmittance. And when you use something unsafely, or there's a product that's not safe, you're kind of counteracting any of those positive effects that you're having. So the first thing with our products is that we have a whole bunch of different built-in safety mechanisms. Every unit has a built-in occupancy detector to make sure that a unit is not going to turn on while someone's in a space. If someone walks in while a unit's in use, the unit automatically shuts off. It will resume and finish its cycle as soon as the space is vacant. Additionally, you need to do quite a bit of operational training. If you're using our units in a mobile fashion, people need to understand how to use them properly. You never stare into a UV light source, even if it's not on. There's certain things like that that are kind of the basics of the training that goes along with the use of our mobile products. That's extremely important to understand. We do feel that having them permanently installed provides a second level of safety. You can schedule them for times when a facility is going to be unoccupied. So, think of an office space. We may schedule them to go on at 1 a.m. every night. You know that there's very low probability that someone will be in the space. And if it's a large open office space, we may be doing secondary occupancy control or door sensors to make sure that the units are not going to be on when someone walks in, even if someone comes into the office late at night to do some late night work. But safety is one of the most important things. UVC is a potentially harmful source of energy. And if you don't use it safely, it can cause real damage.
Brian, it's great to see you take all those safety precautions, because ultimately it's the occupant, the end user, who's the one that's going to live with this equipment for years, keeping them safe while also producing safety with respect to the disinfection is paramount. So congratulations on the fast start to your business. And it sounds like you have your ducks in a row for lots of short and long-term growth. So we appreciate you being with us today for 5 big questions. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me.